Welcome back to part 2. I'm with Tim, Errol and Colin, and we're going to continue the conversation about why men don't talk about their health. And Tim, you're 10 years in now to your journey, and thankfully you're still shouting about it.
Yeah, and I will continue to do that.
Yeah.
And I think it's, we're talking about kids, so my son, 28,
Yeah.
I've already booked and paid for their blood tests, they will, my boys will get tested. And when I found out, my whole family got tested and my cousins and all of them are getting tested. And I think you've got to keep that message going. And I think the biggest thing is education in schools, for sure.
Yeah.
I think that point, Errol, that you made about, kids in school, if they know about it and they're leaving school aware of this kind of thing, then they're prepared for getting checked as they get older. And I don't think we have the education there.
No, there isn't currently a program. We, as a group, right, we go to schools and do these conversations. Because of that situation with my grandson, we go to schools. But it's amazing how many kids, I mean, we spoke to a group of 16-year-olds. And one young man, I said, guys, do you know what a prostate is? Do you know where your prostate is, right? And one young person pointed to here. Yeah. And it's frightening because he really did not have any idea what the prostate does, where it is, and the function of it, So at school, they're talking about periods for girls. Great. What about the boys? Right? Yeah. We need this conversation. I've already had this conversation with the health secretary, right? And he's alarmed that it's not part of the curriculum. I said, well, it should be part of it. If you're talking to girls about their particular issues, this is something that, we now know affects young guys. So if a 16-year-old doesn't know, and we've lost somebody 26 to it, so what happens in 10 years when this problem arises?
And all that is from old school thinking.
Old school,
because
exactly.
it's a disease for people 50 and beyond. That is the reason
Take the age
why.
off it.
Take the age off it, and then we can go directly.
You cannot cap a situation like this because of the delicacy of the problem itself, right? And I go back to the two words, fear and ignorance, right? The young man of 36, right? His fear was knowing, and his ignorance was to choose to do nothing. That should be an example to us all not to let that happen.
Yeah. And Colin, you've done a lot of campaigning as well to try and get the message out there. Are you seeing any changes? Are people taking it on board? Do we need to be running around Twickenham, shouting about it? What are the things that you're seeing? Any successes or anything like that?
I think when people become responsible for themselves in that sense, I mean, one of the things I kind of promote in that sense is get your benchmark. So when you touch a certain age, and I was trying to say 45 is my kind of age, right? In that sense. Get your benchmark. So get your tests done for everything that you possibly can. So you can see where things are at, just generally. So if you start creating habits for your health and your general well-being, then you've really got that real foundation, that benchmark, and that helps everybody along the line. Attitudes, I think, are changing because we are far more vocal. You're getting high-profile people suffering from prostate cancers. When that happens as well, of course, the message gets, elevated in that sense. So once you can start to have people can be empathetic in people's stories across the board, then it definitely helps. I mean, but remember what I touched on, which was, even some of the people I talked to about it, they haven't had their test.
Still haven't done anything
and I'm
about
like, what are you doing, guys? Come on, in that sense. But I know on the, just talking to the man on the street generally, that they get a little bit more comfortable with a storyboard. And I think, again, that's really important. I mean, I know my cousin has... he has like a little poker kind of group that they go around every Friday. All the lads, they get together from school. So they've been friends for a very long time. Now, I'm pretty sure, I don't know, but I'm pretty sure they talk about it. I'm pretty sure they do. And they'll be just talking about, because they may be saying, because they've known me growing up, and going, well, what's Colin up to?
Yeah.
And, my cousin will go, oh, well, he's doing this. And I know that will kind of lead on to other conversations. And then what happens, they'll mention, high-profile people who suffer from it. And then that gets the storyboard. So then it gets dissipated in the right way. We want a genuine ripple effect.
Yeah.
So I'm pretty sure when they leave those poker games, it's in the mind about, okay, maybe how do I do it? How do I go about it? And I think that's always got to be important as well. And learning that you can go about it and be insistent. Because sometimes, I phoned up sometimes and I said to them, can I come in to have my test? And they go, have you been shown any symptoms? I'm like, irrelevant.
Yeah.
And they're like, well, and I go, okay, that's fine. I just go and get it done privately.
Yeah.
And I kind of, I'm fortunate that I can make that kind of happen.
Yeah.
And so, and they're like, no, you don't have to. No, you don't have to. I'll go and get it private. It's fine.
Yeah.
Let's get it done in that sense. But, I am in that, lucky. I use that word, that lucky, right, where that can kind of happen. And I can understand if guys who were a little bit dubious about getting it, and then all of a sudden, when you do mention it, someone starts bombarding you with questions. Whoa. You can see how
it's a big issue at the moment, and the medical world have had to look at it and re-examine it because it's a delicate conversation. You walk into your doctor's surgery, you want to have a test. Why do you want to have a test? Why? Are you showing any symptoms? No, but I'm one of the high-risk people, right? But are you showing any symptoms? Well, if you're telling me as a medical person that it's a silent killer because it doesn't show the symptoms, then how can I describe you the symptoms, right? Because we didn't know what we know now. No,
for sure.
Before.
No.
Because I would probably have, knowing that it was that throwaway comment of my wife complains when I get up in the middle of the night to go to the loo, that was probably happening for some time.
Yeah.
And it was my poor sense of humour that brought it to the surface kind of thing.
And a practitioner who listened.
And let into the conversation.
Very
that is crucial.
Exactly.
Very
and didn't fob it off.
Exactly. And go, bless you. I can
yeah.
imagine a trauma and then just push it aside.
The
practitioner engaged with you straight away.
Totally.
And made that develop.
And I that lucky, because that was through a company that I work for. So I was lucky. But that people that don't have that opportunity still need to have
I think
it on the table for them.
if you listen to what Tim and Colin are saying, it's two examples of what can happen if you don't have those situations, because Colin has walked in, someone's immediately going to look at Colin and his profile and think, well, you're fine, there's nothing wrong with you, right? And almost put you off the conversation. Now, and this is why it's so important to make sure that you are switched on upstairs with this, right? You need to, and again, I'll always use the car analogy because that's the one I know best, right? Every year, I have to MOT everyone's cars who drive a car in here, right? What's the difference? That's my argument. Doctors say to me, we're not sure about doing this every year. I said, well, you have to MOT a car every year. So what's it,
They said that to me as well.
Tell me.
I'll come back in 10 years.
Fine.
Those things not going to change for the next 10 years.
It should be compulsory that you do this check, right? It takes 10 minutes once a year. Like Tim was saying, like Colin was saying, treat yourself to an annual MOT, right? Go and get all your eyesight, your blood checks, everything. Just spend a week. Right, just going through the map, because when you look at your health well-being check, the prostate issue is not even on that list. So, at what point is it going to be treated as serious?
You got to own it, haven't you? Own your own health, and it is. And there's a lot of help that needs to be provided for everything that we've said because of the ignorance piece, the fear piece, but. Encouraging kids at school, to do. I don't know what is interesting with the health sector in not knowing what's in the curriculum.
Well, I think the problem
but
there
needs
is
to be something.
Is that unless people keep driving this message, right? The people that are in powers are not going to know every single thing.
No,
right? Now, sometimes your kids will say something to you, and you kind of rethink it, and you think, you know what, he's right. Now, okay, my grandson is 12 years of age, but he's aware of his body, right? And he's aware that, my granddad has gone through something that could affect me. And it becomes important. And as Tim has said, he's already put it in place, right, for his young children to be ready. If they're 28 and below 35, right, they need to be educated about it now. What we don't want is to be losing right? Another generation that are going through what we go. And I talk about it because my dad, who I look up to, couldn't even have the conversation with me and my three brothers.
No, that's right.
Couldn't have that conversation. So we still to this day don't know exactly what he actually had. And that's not good enough. It's not good enough.
You're right. And I think, I look back at, it's a different generation, but we have to change generations moving forward. And I think I look at that, I think my father probably would leave the room if any of those sensitive conversations were going to be had. He'd be like, I'm off down the pub, or I'm off down the garage to do something to my car just so I don't have to listen to this.
It was never like, you couldn't have that conversation when you were growing up because your parents, right, for whatever reason, felt that they were protecting you from certain things. But we call it sort of like seeing blind, hearing deaf. But that becomes your detriment, right? If you're sitting amongst elderly people, you weren't allowed to even have a conversation
with them. So you weren't at the table.
Sit in the corner
you had to sit there. And I remember one particular situation, right? Me and my brothers, we went to, because everybody that was your elder was either your auntie or your uncle. Whether they were related to you or not, they were your auntie or your uncle, right? And we sat in this room, and all of these personal things was in this room. And my brother decided he was going to get up and go and break something, right? And then the lady that came in, and we always knew her as Auntie Iris, right? And for whatever reason, we was always brought up to call her Auntie. When she came in and she saw her piece broken, it was devastating, right? And my brother just pointed to me. He said he was the one that done it. So you got into trouble, right, for not saying anything. And when you do say something to get someone else in trouble, it's even more detrimental. So the learning from that now is we've got a generation of kids now who are not frightened to ask the questions that we weren't allowed to ask.
Yeah.
That's the difference,
Absolutely.
And like, Tim has really hit it on the nail, right? Would he have sat down with his dad and had the conversation that his boys are having with him? No.
Yeah. I think I was really lucky that I could have had that conversation with my dad. I was really fortunate. And again, when you think about it, it's lots of things that are linked to the people you're dealing with.
Yes.
So the people you are dealing with have that ability to talk and be honest and open in that sense. It doesn't mean, and as I say that, it doesn't mean I can be always honest and open about that.
No.
Because when I went to go and have the kind of reset test after when I first did it, I didn't tell anybody I was going for a reset. I didn't. They went, oh, have you had it? Yeah, of course I've had the test. And they all were like, what was yours? What was yours? Yeah, it was all good. It was all good. It was all good. Never told me.
There's a major embarrassment about anything to do with that area. Right? Yeah. Anything to do with that area brings up a level of embarrassment. So it's how you overcome that.
And women are far better at
women
because
are
of
fantastic.
Getting checked, getting tested, and men can learn a lot from women because they have all of those tests done.
And I will always say this, and I will go on record, right? When I offered the 20% discount, more women took the 20% discount than men in my garage. More.
There's a story behind it.
Women came to have their oil checked, their waters checked, and their tyres checked. Men used to come and moan about being in the deaf and dumb room. She's not talking to me. I'm not having any sex at the moment because of you. I said, listen, she cares about you. Just go and do the test. It takes 10 minutes. The myth is, I'm not having anything stuck up my rear end. Right? But the good news is that that's going to be phased out. So there is not an excuse for men not to do this. But it takes all of the women and our family connections, everyone to come together and make it a conversation. Listen, people are talking, we are getting better, but we're nowhere near the numbers.
We could still learn a lot.
Yeah, we need people to be
Yeah.
talking. It shouldn't be a conversation that you shouldn't have.
Yeah.
You know, because the most important thing to learn from this, and like what Tim said, early detection is key. Because not only is this treatable, if it's caught early, it's curable. Yeah. Right? And if you had to choose a cancer, this would be the one, because it's treatable and curable, right? Not many cancers you can say that about.
But it's got to be caught early.
Early detection is key.
Absolutely.
Early detection is the most important part of it, because you can go, the diagnosis of this illness starts off as a pussycat, and then within 3 months it becomes a tiger. And that's when it's really aggressive. And it can go from a split second, as Colin will tell you, a split second's key to winning and losing a race.
Huge.
Right? And that's exactly what this is.
I remind people about there's a good old sayings, and there's always history behind some kind of saying, isn't it? And certainly in men's terms, there's that saying you've got to use pride before a fall.
Of course.
Totally.
And the fall is going to be a huge one.
Yeah.
So really
one you can't recover. You can't recover from.
So the key thing is the sense, like, take that moment and think of where are you in this moment in time. And I want to use the word brave, and I hate using it, but be brave. Step out of your comfort zone. And do something for yourself.
And I guess in professional sports, you probably feel invincible. You know, people see you as, well, Superman, Superwoman, you know, and why would you even consider discussing anything like that? Is it as closed in that community as well in terms of discussion?
I think when you're in the world of professional sport, I think you're so used to being in the world of, and in the hands of medical people, that allows you, I think, to be a little bit freer in your conversations. Also adding into that is that when you're in the professional sporting world, you have access to the best medical at a drop of a hat. So, of course, that also will help. So if you show, and people recognize signs and symptoms constantly in that sense, and so they'd be looking at stuff for you anyway, just to keep you on your very, very highest level. But it's only when I retired from professional sports, I realized the complications of getting appointments and you know, the general, the everyday stuff that everyday people were going to go through.
Do you come out of the system that you're in? Do you come out of that completely when you retire? Wow.
Yeah. And the only thing that really keeps you going is friendships, relationships that you've forged during that time. And then, of course, that allows you kind of, you know, to keep a little bit of access to it in that sense. But, you know, you've got phone numbers you can call up. And again, if a practitioner wants to invest in you, they can absolutely help you on this journey. But you learn quite quickly that there's queues. Seriously. You know, I mean, when I was a professional athlete, there was no such thing as a queue. You know, if I did something that was damaged my knee, my hip, whatever, phone call was made, within an hour you're being treated. Right? So this is the difference when you come out of that world, and you've got to recognize that and be able to approach it. So I think you lose lots of inhibitions when you're in a professional sporting world as well. I used the one about dope testing, for example. Of course, when you're doing a dope test, people may not know this, but they got to physically watch you urinate. So you know, shorts can be down to your mid-thigh, so they actually watch the urine coming out. So, you know, when you think of it in those terms, you quite quickly lose the fact that what's happening down there, people are staring at you. It's like, well, that's part of the course, right? This is what happens. And countless numbers of dope tests I was having a year. So it wasn't such a big thing having random people who look like Rihanna staring at you, right? In that sense. So it was quite a natural process, and then you still carry that on that process. Like, well, it doesn't really matter because this is what's necessary. So
I can't imagine being in that situation in corporate life.
No, you're right, and I think it's sort of struck a memory for me. You know, back in the day, our generation, the coffin drop. Remember the coffin drop?
Yes,
I heard about it.
You heard about it? That was like a myth in school. That you start school and you're gonna. That's what at some point during your early school. That's what you're gonna have to go. And all of a sudden, you're building up fear to that. And I think that it certainly stayed with me right the way through to when I first started to get examined for prostate cancer. And that's where the education needs to cough and drop. Whoever thought of calling it that? Because just the word, what's going to happen? I'm going to cough and then I'm going to fall over. What's going to happen here? And I think that's where the education has improved, but there's a long way to
I think there was many things when we were growing up, there was many things and many reasons that you did not want to go to your doctor anyway. Right? And like, if you fell over and you sort of cut yourself, right, you had to tough it out. You couldn't go home and start crying, I got a cut, right? Your parents didn't have time for that, so you kind of fell into that trap of ignoring certain things. And as I say, as you got older, it became more prevalent that you would ignore things, and then bang, all of a sudden.
You're in trouble,
I think top sports people are far more fragile.
Oh,
hang on a minute.
You're running to the doctor.
No, this is not right.
But that's where you're protected. You see? That's where you're protected.
Exactly.
The man on the street
doesn't have the physician.
He's thinking I can't take time out of work. The amount of guys that say to me, that's right. I can't take time out of work to go and do the test. That's why I was talking to Tim about a solution to this, right? It's a little bit like if the MOT, right, needs to be done, right, and you're not bringing your car, then we'll go and collect it. So what's the difference? Go to the people, right, with the, and do the MOT on them, because you've got to get rid of this myth that you can't be checked. You don't have to be checked. Yes, you do, right? Hopefully everything's fine. But that 10 minutes is the difference between constant nagging and fearing and worrying or enjoying your life, because it is what it is.
Can I ask a question on to you guys about the rectal examination? What was your fear in that? Because every time I go in to have my test, and I always get that done as well. And it sounds weird when I say I request it, but I literally what I want to say is like, I got to have the whole process done. I don't want to just have the blood in that sense. So I wonder, what was your fear?
Well, my situation was different to Tim's, right? Whereas Tim went to sleep for his one.
Well, I had the DR. I did have the DRE done. And the fear because I wasn't expecting it to happen during this medical. And the healthcare professional was Rihanna-ish, mid-30s, I guess, a lot younger than me at the time, and the fear was, this might not go the way I want it to go, and I was really just the intimacy, and I thought it was going to be painful as well, but it wasn't. It wasn't painful. It was,
and it was quicker than you thought.
It was quicker, a lot quicker than I thought, and she was just unbelievably professional. Talked me through it, was gentle, and then when I went to see to get the confirmation of the diagnosis, and I was seen by the urologist for the first time, I knew that I knew what to expect. So the fear I was still a bit nervous, but the fear had subsided a little bit. And then after the third or fourth one, I was like queuing up. I was like, give me more. Because it became routine. Every surgeon that I saw, every doctor that I saw, they did it, and it just and the fear did go. But it's the first and second time I was like, it's going to hurt.
That is the biggest issue.
But
the fear.
It didn't.
Right. The fear. Well, like when you're having it for the first time, because you don't really know what to expect. Right. And I chose not to go to sleep because I wanted to experience this, right? Because I thought,
because you had the biopsy done whilst you were awake as well. That was what I had done when I was asleep.
So but I'm kind of glad I had that before the DR, right? Really,
okay.
Because I think if it was the other way round, I would have probably looked at it different, right? Because the doctor that did the DR for me, it wasn't like how I felt the first time. I just thought, I was in the moment, as I call it, and I just thought, well, I can handle that. Little did I know I couldn't. So there is nothing that actually prepares you, right? Like if I said to Colin and Tim, this is what's going to happen, it will be a different experience for each one of them, right? So it's not the wisest thing to say to somebody, it's easy. because it's how you deal with it upstairs.
I did try and talk when I had the medical done, the check done. I did try and talk the doctor out of it. I did. I tried. Failed miserably because she was like, "You're getting this done." But I was like, and I used the age thing again. It was like, I'm too young. I'm too young to have anything like that. And was actively trying to talk her out of it. But again, she was so professional that I
And
I sucked it up and got it done.
Yeah, it's literally it's this. I guess in your mindset of a story's down the road, this is what's going to happen, blah, 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 blah. It's not actually the reality.
No.
And when you go in, potentially, you're not the first person they've done this to.
No.
And they really are not interested in anything else apart from getting you better.
Exactly.
And so my mindset for it always is like, I need everything. I don't want to see anything coming from another different angle. I need it. Just give it whatever's necessary because I want to be well.
That is what we need for all men. To go in there and be comfortable with everything.
Exactly.
Because women already do this. They naturally do this. Right?
It kind of set me up for, because bowel cancer screening, you get that at a certain age as well. And it kind of set me up for that because it was, I knew what was going to happen. You're going to get a camera. And it was, and when I went in there and spoke to the doctor that was doing that, and thank goodness everything was good. I said I've had prostate cancer. He said, "Oh, you'll be used to this then. You'll be good at this." Oh yeah, I'm fine. I'm not. Can't say I'm looking forward to it. But I'm comfortable with it. I'm comfortable with it. And it was.
I know when I went for my first DR, I went in quite blind, but I have to say it was over before it started.
Exactly.
Exactly.
Shocked.
It really was, oh, that's it?
And I think
It was that type of thing.
You were almost expecting something else.
Yes.
But you got the opposite.
Yes.
And that's why I always go back to those two words, the fear and ignorance.
Yeah.
Because, your fear factor can take you down many different roads. And your ignorance can take you down one particular road, not doing it. Right?
Yeah.
And that's the balance that you got to get right.
And I think like yourself, I would have no qualms now about it.
No.
For me now, it's a standard operating. Okay, next.
If we could
move
get
on.
all men to have that attitude, right, listen, I'm having the full works.
Life is better than being uncomfortable for 5 seconds.
Exactly.
Literally, 5 or 6. They're not there all week.
The other option is that we're thinking about, is it? Because you don't get it.
No,
didn't get it done.
Exactly.
The guy that, I think I might mention this, the guy that went out with the curry with the lads, because I wanted to, tell them, I wanted to share, when I was comfortable to do that. And the one guy who just was not, he completely disengaged from the conversation. And I'd love to be able to have explored it more with him. Was it the fear of the DRE that he was going to have? Or was it the fear of having something and then wanting to ignore it? And I never got to the bottom of it, and I wish I had.
We did a like a survey of the people that we asked these kind of questions, and in 1 year, 1,800 guys, right, said they're not doing it because of that rectal examination.
Wow.
And even when you said to them, but you don't have to have that examination, not interested. Not interested in going down there because they said, there'll be complications after it, this problem, that problem. So the fear had already kicked in way before.
Ignorant fear.
Ignorance, is it selfishness? There's a lot there.
You know what? It's a balance. It's a balance of everything. And the opposite to Colin, really, in the sense that he's going to go in there and have everything done. They're not going in there to have everything done. Because if number 1 is a problem, they're not even interested in 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, or 7. Right?
So what do we say to those guys? How do we change it? What's the message we want to put out there to these guys?
I think there's 2 elements to it. One, it's just the blood test.
Yes.
And if they're still blocking it there, then it's nothing to do with the DRE. There is a fear there. And I think there is a fear of finding out, probably. And it's that, again, we've got to go further upstream to this. When you get to that point and you're downstream, it's like, that's when the tough conversations happen. But if you can educate, make human beings more comfortable that this is something that they, as you age, if you're lucky enough to age, you then get the opportunity to get these things
And you know what's fortunate where we are now with this, right, is that there's 2 very important elements, right? The wife and the children. because if those two are on you, then there's no hiding place. You have to do it. Even if you don't want to do it for the wife, you're going to have to do it for the children, you know, because, you know, we had a situation, a guy in the conversation, oh, I'm not doing that test. Why? I don't feel that I need to do the test. Anyway, his son took the details from me, right? There's 4 boys in the family. They decided to go and do it. The dad had no choice. He had to go with them. When it came back, the dad was fine. Out of the 3 boys, one of them had signs of prostate cancer, right? But when the guy came back to apologize, right, because he was very aggressive towards me about the whole conversation. He didn't like the way that I brought the conversation to him. And I said, look, I'm just telling you facts, right? You know, you're a part of a high risk, right? He said, why is black men 1 in 4 then? I said, because of this particular conversation. So he said to me, so how do you feel about standing there and telling me that you got no feeling down there? I said, well, it's the truth. I haven't. So I'm not exaggerating it. What I don't want is for you to have to go through the problem of having that, right? And then when he came back to me and he said, look, because of my son, right, but more importantly, right, he took the information from you, right, the rest of us had to go and do the check because the boys had badgered me to go and do the checks, you know? He said, now he's mentioning this to all of his friends. He said, we have a domino set of groups, right? And that's the best conversation to have it. Yeah. You've just got to talk about it.
It's back to the power of the groups as well.
Normalise it.
Yeah. It's not a conversation that you shouldn't have.
Yeah.
It's a part of it. You know, we talk about football, women, everything else. But when it comes to that particular point, it's like the thumb on your finger. You know, that's the one you hide away.
Yeah. So I'm just conscious of time. Is there any topic that we haven't really covered that we want to talk about? We can kind of do a little bit on last message or, you know, what's your kind of final thoughts. But before we do that, is there anything we haven't covered that you think we should?
Wow, we've covered a lot.
We have covered a lot.
And you know what? We have to also give credit to the medical world because there's some fantastic work going on behind the scenes to improve, right, the awareness of this issue. But unless people are involved, right, in what's going on with the research, right, the testing, right, we're never going to get to the bottom of this problem. So the message has got to be, please have a conversation, right? Don't ignore it, right? Because it's the one thing that this cancer wants you to ignore it, right? Because then it will take you. So the message is treat yourself to an annual check, right? That's all it is, an annual check.
And adding to that, you know, sometimes we've got to remember that an enlarged prostate doesn't always mean prostate cancer.
No, it doesn't. No.
Which lots of times people will instantly go, I'm not going to get it done because if it's an enlarged, I've got prostate cancer.
A friend of mine had that and he had a treatment done and he was fine, you know, but he says that the reason he was diligent with his health was because of me.
Exactly.
Well, I take that as a massive win.
Oh, huge.
Huge. But you've practically saved lives that you don't even know about.
Well, I hope
you know?
so. Yeah.
I mean, you know, like we meet people, and my wife gets kind of embarrassed about it. And the guy's coming up and he's hugging me. He said, "You've saved my life," and he's giving me a big kiss. And my missus is looking at me thinking, this is not the effect that it's supposed to have.
It is the effect. There was a guy in the office who came up to me and he said, it's because of you that I've got my PS. He's mid-40s.
Yeah.
And he keeps a little note on his phone. And it's like, yes. It's like, that is
a little scorecard.
That's a win. That is a win. And he's now owning it. If there's something changes in the next few years for him, he'll be on it and have a good outcome.
But you know, it's so important to maintain that level of conversation. Guys have got to accept it as something that's part of your life.
Sure.
And as you get older, right, like everything else, you still have to tune that engine, as I call it. You still have to have that engine. You have to check the oil, you have to check the water, you have to check the tires. No different. That's exactly your body.
Right. Exactly right.
Yeah.
Just get used to it.
We've come a long way, but we still have a lot to do.
Oh yes.
Never rest. Never rest on it. Yeah.
And I think talking about this with my family, talking with the family about, what's next for me after corporate life comes to an end, which it will do at some point. And so I want to do more of this, more of just. I want to work in a garden centre. I don't know why. It's just relaxing, I think.
Yeah.
But having, men walk around the garden centre with their wives. You don't see this stuff advertised in the garden centre. It should be there.
It should be there.
Should be there, along with other health and
because the garden is like natural life, isn't it?
Yeah.
You don't realise until you're out there cutting the grass or pruning the trees and the plants and so forth, that all of a sudden you realise, you know what, you're at peace here. Right? Yeah. And that's what you need to have with yourself.
It's funny you say that, because I always call it the barbecue moment.
Yeah.
Guys are always around the barbecue, chatting, beers. There's everybody else, kids are running around. The guys are there.
Yeah.
That's your time.
Who's had your prostate test?
Why don't we get on, I won't mention the brands because we're not allowed to do brands, but on these famous brands of barbecues, why don't we get stickers on there?
Now's your time to talk.
That's not bad.
Let's do it.
It's the smallest thing that creates the biggest thing.
Absolutely.
Like I look at my grandson now, and I'm really grateful to him because he showed me that, what we do is really important, and it's even more important to be going into the schools now and educating, right? Because what they know now, we didn't know at that age.
We didn't.
So education is key to all of this,
Yeah.
And I go back to Colin's uncle, that generation, right? He's unique.
Yeah, I agree.
He's unique because
I agree.
This problem is worse in the Caribbean and Africa. It's worse. They don't talk about it full stop. They don't even put it on the death certificate. When you die in Jamaica, they put waterworks, complication. Died of complication. What's that?
Wow.
I was 22 years of age. My Uncle Thomas died of complication. I said to my mum, so Uncle Thomas died of complication. What's that? That's when she said to me, oh, he had a problem with his prostate.
Okay.
And that's it.
Thanks for the heads up.
Yeah. But this is the battle that we've got. We've come from a generation that will put it under the carpet.
Yeah.
Sweep it to one side. This generation now, they're a bit like the Hoover. They are on it.
Well, you look at the movement that was, I don't know, when was it, 10, 15 years ago around breast cancer.
Yes, right.
And, how they managed to kind of capture that, get it out in the public. It was so kind of everybody was talking about it and knew about it.
And the reason is because it's women.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Women, listen, I preach the word nagging because I woke up to nagging. My wife was nagging about my snoring. I'm here because of her.
Of that.
And I'm forever grateful.
It sounds like now's our time.
Yeah,
We've got to
we
try and make that movement
I think the barbecue
happen.
sticker, we're on to something there, I think.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Do you know what?
I like that.
You like that?
Meat, fire and beer. That's what men do around the barbecue, don't they? I think we're on to something there, definitely.
That's a great seller, by the way.
Yeah.
Any barbecue company.
We'll probably get that bit cut.
Speak to the team and get that bit recut. But
we'll take that bit away ourselves.
Any way that you can create a conversation.
Yeah.
That's right.
That's what you got to have.
Absolutely.
And we as men, right, we might be sitting in front of the TV, with your mate and you're talking and just ask the question.
I mean, you mentioned women nagging.
Yeah.
We nag.
Yeah, but we
Think about it. We nag our friends. We nag our to make sure to do it in that sense.
Yeah.
Because,
If I hadn't have gone through what I went through, I wouldn't be nagging because I would be in that fear and ignorance phase.
But we had a situation, right? Two guys came to one of our meetings, right? These guys grew up. They went to primary school together, secondary school together. They partied together. Did everything else together, yet A never said to B that he was going through this problem, and B didn't say to A. They turned up there, what are you doing here?
Yeah.
What are you doing here? And when the conversation came out, it produced tears. And do you know what? When you watch grown men cry over something like this, that's how serious this is. Because these are close, they're like brothers. And yet they couldn't bring themselves to tell each other how personal this is.
Yeah.
don't.
Well, I think I'm off to put it in the rugby WhatsApp chat.
Absolutely.
Tell the boys,
Yeah,
let's
yeah.
get going.
Loving that.
Get it?
Yeah,
Yeah.
that'd be a good
Absolutely.
one.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think that'd be a good one.
Yeah, especially if you're in the scrum. yeah.
That's a whole nother podcast coming on right there.
That's podcast number 2.
Book. I'll leave that book. Oh, dear me. No,
All
thank
right,
you.
excellent.
Thank you,
Okay,
guys.
really good. Thanks
Thank
ever
you.
so much.
Loved
and,
it.
Yeah,
we'll
brilliant.
Great
hopefully
conversation.
keep
No.
pushing the message
Let's do
out.
it. Let's do it again.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
no. Thank you for putting up
Cool.
with us.
It was
Yeah.
a
Right.
pleasure and an honour to listen to your stories. Thank you.
Brilliant.
But it's
I did
nice
tell
be-
you
it's
what
nice
to
be
expect with
between-
these two.
It's nice to be between two legends.
I don't know about, do you know what? Do you know, I said to people that I did not want to have this education after I had the problem. If I could turn the clock back, I wish I knew then what
course.
I know
What you know now.
Yeah.
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 And that's probably 99% of men, I would imagine.
Yeah.
Because we just don't.
So the drive is to avoid someone else
Yeah.
having to live what we're living.
Yeah.
You know? And you look at Colin, you expect, this is what happens to your mind. You expect not ever to have a problem, right? But it can happen,
Yeah.
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Tim, purely by accident,
Yeah.
right? But we're glad that he turned that negative into a massive positive. So on behalf of all those people out there that are suffering, right, thank you guys, because what you two have done, right, means that this is worth sitting here, right? Just if we save one life from this,
Yeah,
thank
exactly
you.
right.
And thank you for putting up with us.
Absolute
Thank
pleasure,
you.
gents. This amazing conversation might be over, but it doesn't end here. Prostate cancer is one of the most common cancers in men, but when it's found early, outcomes can be good. If you're over 45 or you're a black man, your risk is even higher. Don't wait. Talk to your GP. Start the conversation and keep the conversation going. Share this episode. Talk to someone you care about. Encourage the men in your life to check in with their doctor and get themselves tested. Learn the risk factors, learn the signs, get men talking. Colin, Errol, Tim, thank you very much. And thank you for listening to Get Men Talking.